Today, we're talking about some harsh truths because for those of you interested in becoming successful financial advisors, it's important to be aware of the realities of what top advisors really are. Sometimes those of us in the industry especially, we see the large annual income numbers for some of those high-ranked financial advisors earning $1 to $3 million or more each year. And those numbers look great. But what they don't tell you is what those top advisors had to do and continue to do to be in that position. I've worked with and talked to some of the top 1,000 ranked financial advisors in the country, and here are some of the common traits that they share that most of us just don't really have, or maybe don't even want to have. The first reason that you probably won't become a top ranked financial advisor is because you don't want to put in the hours necessary. The vast majority of, if not 100%, of the top financial advisors had to work way more hours than any normal person would ever want to during the first at least 10, if not 20 years of their career to build their businesses up to the point where they could really start to scale aggressively and become a top producing advisor. Some days are going to be really late nights in the office, just doing reporting or putting together documentation or doing follow-up from your meetings that day, just trying to get work done from the volume of interactions that these people have to have. Some evenings are going to be prospecting events. A lot of these top advisors would tell me that early years in their career they were like sitting at Costco or hosting local chicken dinners or something, just trying to meet new faces and new people to try to get business from them and sign them on as clients. You're just networking and prospecting a lot in the evenings. Another reason for long hours can be late client meetings. Some top producing advisors, especially in the first 10 to 20 years of their career, they would meet with just about anyone at any time. And if someone works second shift and they get off at 9 p.m., I've heard of advisors taking client meetings at that hour. If not in the office, just over the phone, which they're at home working at that point. There are all these examples of different things that these top advisors do well past 40 hours every given week that is required to just be able to do the volume of work and to meet with the quantity of faces that you need to get in front of to have enough clients to build your business to the point where you can make some of these financial advisor ranking lists. Any of us who care about work-life balance, any of us who like having freedom in the afternoons and evenings or having some days off, we don't want to commit the amount of hours necessary that most of these advisors, if not all of them, put in to do this. Next, maybe a controversial one, that is that you're not pushy enough in your interactions with people to generate enough business to be a top-ranked advisor. Now, you may hear me say that and go, AJ, why would being pushy help you out? It's just gonna make you annoying and people aren't gonna like you as much or whatever. And those things are minimally true, but being pushy time and time again, anyone who's grown a business will confirm for you, it's going to result in more business than the alternative, which is being passive and not getting interactions and communications with potential clients and customers. There's definitely an art to being pushy and aggressive in a friendly or fun or humorous way, and I think some of the most successful people do that very well, but I've definitely seen successful people who are just outright pushy and they aren't really fun or friendly about it. Maybe they use other psychological strategies to make their pushiness effective. Maybe they create a sense of urgency, or maybe they put others down in order to make them feel like they should be doing something that the pushy person is selling them or convincing them on. Whatever the scenario, I'm just telling you being pushy is very beneficial in trying to drum up new business. It's something I personally have struggled with and sort of continue to struggle with in my career. I have to be very purposeful about making sure I'm being pushy, especially when I'm trying to get people to take advice that they may not want to be taking. So it's an important skill to have, and you really need to be a master of being pushy in personal interactions to become a top-ranked financial advisor. And it's especially beneficial if you can do it in one of those fun or kind ways that I sort of mentioned earlier. Last point on that is that some of the best salespeople, when they start an interaction with a potential client or customer, that the person on the other end, they already know that they're going to be sold to. So when the pushiness comes in and the ask comes in and the questioning comes in, it's not unexpected. And I think creating that preconceived notion, which is a lot of what top advisors do, can really help make the pushiness accepted by the other party. The third one is sort of related to the last, but it's that you probably don't have the people skills necessary to become a top ranked advisor. And that's also going to include what I'll call the wow factor. And we'll cover that in just a minute. When I say people skills, basically I'm talking about being personable, fun, good to talk to, an honest, genuine person that people like interacting with and doing business with. It means being confident and communicating well, and being a good listener is very important. But then also carrying on conversations, being able to pick up on the body language of the other party and adjust yours and adjust your communication style to match that. Most importantly, to match it in such a way that's going to get them to buy into what you're doing or saying. For some of those things, you can read a book like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. It's all about kindness and treating people well and making them motivated to do things that you want them to do. Then there are some other angles on the same exact point, which have to do more with the confidence and communication factors, just how you carry yourself, what sort of aura you bring. You really need to be at the cream of the crop in most of those, or if not all of those areas, to generate enough business to be one of these top ranked advisors. And then the thing I see time and time again with these individuals is that they have some wow factor that makes people really want to work with them. And trust me, in some of these cases, I personally just can't understand why the clients or customers on the other end of the table are buying into this wow factor, because sometimes it's really not something that I personally would look at and go, wow. But you really should have some characteristic or something about yourself, either in the way that you talk about yourself or others, or you kind of sell yourself or your story, that makes people really, really love working with you, or at least it makes them feel like they have to work with you, because that wow factor, even if you're the friendliest, funniest person in the world, but for some reason they don't see you as the person that they need to be working with, which would mean you're doing the things I talked about a little bit ago well, but you don't have the wow factor, you may not end up being able to climb to the top of these financial advisor income lists. This one is really hard for me to describe well for the purposes of this video, but I think it has to relate to your own personality, and you can only develop this over time through practice. Whatever your wow factor is, it has to be something that is, honestly, it's pretty aggressive in whatever it is. It's not a subtle type of thing. You need to do this thing and do it aggressively. It has to match with your personality. And most importantly, it has to create buy-in from other people to want to do things with you or do what you're saying. You're probably starting to pick up on how having all of these things and doing all of these things well and coordinating them all well is very difficult. And that's probably why it can be so rare. And that's why only less than 0.1% of financial advisors end up hitting these top advisor lists. Doing all these things well is not easy, and it's not common. Okay, number 4, you just don't have the ultimate goal for your career of getting to the top. This is an important one because I think being long-term goal-oriented is something that can help shape all of your actions, not just the big decisions throughout each year that you live and you work, but almost every single daily action you take during that period in effort of ultimately becoming a top advisor. Another way to say that is that even if you contained all of the characteristics I've talked about so far in this whole video, but you didn't really care about beating the other people and seeing your name at the top of the list and achieving that career goal, then you're going to be on a little bit more of what I'll call autopilot with your day-to-day actions. And while some conversations may go in the right direction because of all those things that you may have, and you'll get new business from them, other conversations you're just not going to see the need to work as hard on or push enough on or pursue as enough times on in the future to generate that new business. Because if you have all these characteristics and you're getting other business, you can sort of feel like, that's enough, and you don't want to take the time or energy to pursue further growth from these other opportunities. So ultimately, you're just going to probably end up taking fewer actions that will push you higher and higher up these tier lists of financial advisor income rankings, unless, again, doing just that is one of the big goals for your career. And I also don't believe you can just sort of manufacture this goal for yourself. It's not like you can go, oh, this isn't important to me, but I do want to make a lot of money, so I'm just going to make it a goal of mine. Like, you can write it down as a goal, 5-year goal or whatever, but if you don't feel that truthfully, then I don't think it's going to do everything I just talked about and shifting your actions each day. And that's the important thing that the goal does to actually help you get to reach the goal. It's this weird dynamic of, having this X factor of competitiveness and drive and determination to ultimately reach these top ranks of the industry that are necessary to really get there. Number 5, the last one on this list, is that the job of financial advisor is not your entire life. And this point is really going to be a summary of some of the other 4. But if you don't see your job and your career as your ultimate life calling, then it's not very likely that you're going to want to pursue any of the things that I've talked about so far in this video. It's not very likely you'll want to do the extra hours. It's not very likely that you'll feel motivated to be very pushy in your interactions. It's not very likely, if your job isn't your life, it's not very likely you're going to care enough to reach these top ranked lists, which is what would make you have that as a goal. If you have other things in life that are equally as, and especially if they were more important to you than your career, it just doesn't logically add up that you're going to pursue this career as this ultimate challenge when you have other things that matter to you. Maybe you're into cooking or fitness or just your family or your kids and grandkids or some sports league, something like that. Those things are just going to take more of your time and energy. And the more time and energy that goes to other things, work-life balance, focus on other things, spending time in the evenings, doing whatever else, keeping, your top prospects' names out of your head because you're focusing on watching sports or whatever. I think a lot of those things sound like fun to me personally, but the point is that engaging in any of those is each one's going to slowly decrease, I think, your probabilities of becoming a top advisor. So all these people that I've worked with that are really at the tops of these lists, their job, their career, and their company, because most of them own the firms that they work at, are paramount. They're, if not the top 2, they're the number 1 factor in their life, and it's probably the most important thing that they work towards in their life. And it would make sense that if your career is the most important thing you're working on in your life, that you would start to do some of these other things that we've talked about. If you strive for work-life balance and you have other things that matter more to you, which I think is most of us, you're not likely going to become a top 1,000 financial advisor in the US. So this list is everything I could think of in the past few days while working on the video. If you're in the industry and you're listening to this and there are any other big factors that you've seen top producers doing or being that I haven't covered yet, let me know in the comments down below. I might make a pinned comment adding all of those so that people can just check them out and try to get an understanding of, like I said earlier, what top financial advisors really are. As always, thanks for watching.